The Symbolism of the Owl and the Constellation Noctua. Why is it that the owl in Asia and the East is regarded as symbolically favourable, but that in the West its constellation Noctua has been removed from the sky? And mystics like William Blake aligned it with asses, cat-headed bats and snakes in his painting The Night of Enitharmon's Joy. The Celtic mysteries included a goddess, Blodeuwedd, whose familiar was the owl, and she was benign. Blodeuwedd, Welsh virgin goddess of spring, totem the owl, bird of wisdom and lunar mysteries, the ninefold goddess of the Western Isles of Paradise, Arenachrod. So why the change that William Blake incorporated, where his owl is described as the mournful owl of false understanding? And one of the clues as to why can be found in a quote by Alexander Milne about his character of the owl in his children's books. Owl hasn't exactly got brain, but he knows things. Eastern symbolism of the owl, Hindu thought. The owl, or the Ulooka in Sanskrit, is Devi Lakshmi's vahana, a mount or familiar, and there is a deep spiritual significance as to why this creature is her mount. The owl in the Bhagavad Gita is likened to an enlightened person, and especially one who remains steadfast in the face of either adversity or joy. The owl has a stoical attitude to life, engendered by true wisdom. The difference is that true wisdom is recognized as the harnessing of spiritual wisdom, not book learning or the product of memory. In Hindu symbolic thought, a night owl is thus not one who pores over books, but one who seeks the spiritual wealth of the night, and it is part of the sadhus and spiritual seekers' journey. The Eastern symbolism of the owl, the ninja. Ninja is the Yuan-Omi, early Middle Chinese influenced reading of the two kanji. In the native kunyomi reading, it is pronounced shinobi. The word shinobi means to steal away, to hide, but this has nothing to do with the martial arts. In its purest form, ninja were accomplished seers, monomi, one who sees, and the owls were the wisest. Dr. Masaki Hatsumi, Essence of Ninjutsu. You will be laughed at by owls unless you know these things. When you walk through the dark world of desires, owls can be your good guides. A true ninja can see through everything in the world of desires. As such, in parts of the world where spirituality never died and never crushed, an owl was indeed a wise old bird, a guide. The Constellation Noctua. Noctua, Latin owl, was once a constellation near the tail of Hydra in the southern celestial hemisphere, but it is no longer recognised. It was introduced by Alexander Jamieson in his 1822 work A Celestial Atlas, and it appeared in a derived collection of illustrated cards, Urania's Mirror. Jamieson, an amateur astronomer, said he thought it was strange that no such bird had previously been placed among the constellations, considering the frequency it is met with on all Egyptian monuments. He posed it side on, but with its head facing the onlooker, as though in a hieroglyph. But no sooner had it appeared when it was removed by the French professional astronomer Pierre Charles Le Monnier, who introduced the constellation Rodriguez Solitaire. The trouble was that the picture he used was not of the solitaire, which by then had gone extinct because it was flightless. The image was actually that of a rock thrush, which had been classified in the genus Turdus. And thus we now have a constellation named Turdus Solitarius, which seems somehow rather apt, and is symbolically, well, nothing. It should be noted that Le Monnier was regarded as a most distinguished scientist, but Encyclopaedia Britannica, his temper was irritable, and his hasty utterances exposed him to retorts which he did not readily forgive. Against Lalande, owing to some trifling pique, he closed his doors during an entire revolution of the moon's nodes. William Blake and the defeat of the spiritual. So why did William Blake incorporate a mournful owl in his painting? And why did A. Milne make fun of his owl character with his misspelled notices and half-truths? Because Owl had lost the spiritual connection and openness to wisdom and inspiration, whereas Pooh and Piglet had that connection all the time because they were honest, innocent, loving, and humble. Supposing a tree fell down, Pooh. When we were underneath it, said Piglet. Supposing it didn't, said Pooh, after careful thought. Owl had become a fact-collecting, semi-book-learning intellectual, unable to receive wisdom and able to see truths because his intellect and ego blocked them. A. Milne. Owl licked the end of his pencil and wondered how to spell birthday. Can you read, Pooh? He asked a little anxiously. He wrote, hippy, happy, It's a nice long one, said Pooh, very much impressed by it. And although A. Milne managed to capture the pomposity and arrogance that such a person has, Blake also understood the consequences and captured them perfectly in the painting The Night of Enitharmon's Joy. Enitharmon represents the feminine, and thus the key to spiritual connection when she has been spurned. By ignoring spirituality and the role of divine inspiration, by declaring spirituality dead, we are given the wisdom of an ass and not the owl. In Blake's mythology, Enitharmon declared that women will rule the world, and will do so by giving women pride instead of humility, and by dominating men by a sexual desire, frustration, sexual repression, and eventually war. War, misery, and revolution are the ultimate result of sexual repression. And this can be seen in the world wars and the war between the sexes, constant strife and arguments. Love is supposed to lead one to a higher state. but the perversion of sexuality, shown in Blake's picture by the naked couple hiding, leads to destruction. As such, his painting is depicting far more than just a shell-shocked owl. He is trying to warn us that by denying the existence of spirit and the role it plays in all real wisdom, we open the door to its perversion. Women play the roles of men to survive. And the masculine intellect, full of its own rightness, finds no outlet for its sexual desires, as women are now competing with men, head on. Science is then seen as dogged, determined materialism, the lion, directly combating spirituality, the unicorn. Herman Northrop Frye, fearful symmetry. The female will is born from an object of affection, refusing to give up its independence, and the concept represents what prohibits an individual from being able to have true vision. Hecate. There are some who believe the woman in Blake's picture is Hecate, but this is not true. The real Hecate was a triple goddess, based on the Hindu Trimurti, the great triad of Hindu gods comprising Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. In the Trimurti, the three most important functions or attributes of Brahman are shown, to help Hindus understand the true nature of God and the universe, creator, sustainer and destroyer. But Blake's goddess has only one face, and that face is turned towards the snake of the tree of knowledge, and her books lay before her. Hecate was a pre-Olympian goddess. The first literature mentioning Hecate is the Theogony, around 700 BCE, by Hesiod, and he has nothing but praise for her. And Asteria conceived and bore Hecate, whom Zeus the son of Cronos honoured above all. He gave her splendid gifts, to have a share of the earth and the unfruitful sea. She received honour also in starry heaven, and is honoured exceedingly by the deathless gods. The son of Cronos did her no wrong, nor took anything away of all that was her portion among the former Titan gods. But she holds, as the division was at the first from the beginning, privilege both in earth and in heaven and in the sea. The special position given to Hecate by Zeus is upheld throughout her history by depictions found on coins. In the Homeric hymn to Demeter, composed around 600 BCE, Hecate is called tender-hearted when she assisted Demeter with her search for Persephone, following her abduction by Hades. Because of this association, Hecate was one of the chief goddesses of the Eleusinian mysteries, and there was a temple dedicated to her near the main sanctuary at Eleusis. Hecate was also greatly revered in Byzantium. The Byzantines dedicated a statue to her as the lamp carrier. Hecate is the primary feminine figure in the Chaldean oracles, 2nd and 3rd century CE, where she is associated in fragment 194 with Astrophilos. And it may be we have missed something very key here, as ancient Greek strophilos pluro strophiloi, is a wheel or spinner, making Hecate an absolutely key figure in the civilization of man, as both the spinning wheel and spindle were fundamental to the making of fabrics and clothes. Furthermore, the wheel, the gyre, top and similar are absolutely key metaphysical symbols. Turning and turning in the widening gyre. W.B. Yeats, The Second Coming. So the figure in William Blake's painting is not Hecate. It is, as he said, an Ithamon. And whereas Hecate loved dogs, this lady is ruled by a cat. And no doubt the very people who renamed the picture are the ones that Blake is accusing. I went to the Garden of Love and saw what I never had seen. A chapel was built in the midst where I used to play on the green. And the gates of this chapel were shut, and thou shalt not, writ over the door. So I turned to the Garden of Love that so many sweet flowers bore, and I saw it was filled with graves and tombstones where flowers should be, and priests in black gowns were walking their rounds, unbinding with briars my joys and desires. Scientism and its partner, dogmatic religion. The hope of the unicorn. But there is hope, and part of that hope lies in the unicorn, whose symbolism is explained in our video, The Symbolism of the Unicorn. The unicorn, spiritually, never dies, as it is immortal. Even when its horn is removed, in time it regrows a new one, bigger and longer. Instead, the unicorn bides its time, getting plumper and stronger, waiting for the chance to return. But first scientism must be banished, and materialism quelled. Science must acknowledge the debt it owes to inspiration and wisdom. The owl can return, but this time as an Eastern owl, relying on both the intellectual reasoning of the masculine and the inspiration and wisdom of the feminine. And maybe Piglet and Pooh can return.